All right, we are live right now. My name is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret: How to Fight CPS and Win. This morning, we have a very special guest, Mr. Allen. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. Where are you coming from? What state?
Minnesota.
The land of 10,000 lakes. I've actually
Yep.
been to Minnesota.
What's
So,
that?
I've actually been to Minnesota. So, tell me, Alan, what is your connection and what's going on with CPS?
Well, it's a rogue. It's a rogue institution. It destroys families. They 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 just go by hearsay in courts. There's no substantial evidence. They run rampant. They're very um, out of control. It's uh it's the whole system is out of control. To be honest.
I think that everyone on our show and everyone that watches our show would probably agree. But tell me specifically what happened to you.
Um. Well, there was a few different incidences in that brought CPS into our lives, but the last one was really the one that it started in school. Um, I know in fifth grade my son came home, but then even before that, um, what was it? Not even sure anymore. But anyways, there was an incident with my son. He was at he was in fifth grade, I think it was, and they had social services and the police come in and to the auditorium to give their little speech and said that if your parents try to make you do things you don't want to do, that you don't have to listen to them, and if they try to make you do things, then you need to just come here and tell them, and they'll take care of it. Well, so that next day, uh, he was supposed to help me with some chores. He says, "I don't want to help do chores." What do you mean? Yeah, I don't want to help you do chores. Okay, well, I thought you were gonna help me this so that you could go hang out with your friends. Well, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends, but I'm not gonna help you. I said, well, that's not the deal. Well, you can't make me do what I don't want to do. I They already told me that. So if you try to make me, and yeah, so then that was that. So that just made it to where our younger children could follow in that same idea. We had three younger girls. Um, yeah, so it just all turned into a mess, and then they got involved the one other time, and they had me removed. My daughter had backed up. I was going to have her hold the horse while I was going to go on a Christian weekend. Um, and I had gotten this pony, and she was kind of a wild little thing, and she had gotten out, and I was going to go and get her, and I was going to have my oldest of the daughters hold the horse while I go get a rope because I had him without a bridle or without a halter, and so there was really no way for me to try to lead him, and I was just going to have her stand nearby her or get me a rope, and she wouldn't do either. And as I was going to try pulling him, I noticed that I had a board laying down there that was had always gotten covered up. Either the snow or the grass would grow over it, and I seen it down there, so I picked it up, and she thought, well, what are you gonna do? Hit me with it? Anyway, so she stepped back as I picked it up, and she tripped over a concrete block. Well, that set it all off. So she was angry. She went in the house, and her and her two younger sisters then dialed 911. And I did manage to get on the horse and go try to retrieve it. But before I was done, I had a police officer pull up. It was probably about a half mile from the house. He pulls up, and so then I kind of stopped what I was doing, trying to round this pony up, and he goes, "Are you Alan?" I said, "Yeah." Can you come to the house? I said, "Yeah." Can I try to get this thing back to the house too? And he says, "Yeah, go ahead, take your time." Well, then when I got back there, well, then everything always turns into a mess when you got them involved in anything. But they were all upstairs, and I said, "Police wants to talk to you." Of course, I didn't know. I could have just said, I guess I probably could have said it, "Go away," because I guess they called back right away after they had made the call and told them not to come, which I knew nothing of them calling or calling back. But but yeah, they called them back and said not to come, but then they came anyways. And yeah, and then toward the end, I said, "I want you to leave." Well, that didn't sit very well with the cop, so he come back up the steps and tried to run my face into the door jamb of the between the hallway and the kitchen. Well, that didn't work for him, so then he tried to get my hands behind my back and try to arrest me as he was shouting, "Stop resisting, stop resisting." I said, "What's this all, why are you doing this?" Um, I think I have my, yeah, anyway, so then I ended up toward the kitchen, and he's still trying to, tackle me or put cuffs on me and whatever. So then I stuck my hands up in the corner of the kitchen by the sink and stuff onto the onto the wall cabinets and spread my legs and kind of just leaned there and kept him from putting my hands behind my back. Well, then he reached down into his side there and grabbed a can of mace and stuck it like this in my eyes and in my mouth till that was empty. And then um, he still wasn't being successful in putting cuffs on me. He did put, um, he did latch on one arm, but so anyways, as I'm standing there, just trying to say, this is not, trying to say, this is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. I wanted you to leave my home. Um, and this is how you guys are. And anyways, so then his backup came and saw me standing in the corner. He comes charging at me. By this time, my mom was out there, my sister was out there, and my nephew was out there, and my son was out there. And but anyways, this cop he just come running in at me and tried to try to rush my head into the cupboards, and yeah, and then
Are you
then
are
my
you the
mom came.
parent, Ellen? Are you the parent of the child or children in this
Yeah,
case? And how many
yeah.
kids do you have?
I have five, but we had four living with me. I had one outside of marriage before I had gotten married. So
Okay,
it
got
was
it.
but there
So,
was only four that
okay,
were
so who
living with
called
us.
the police though? Who called the police?
Well, my three daughters dialed 911.
And the reason for that?
Was that she had tripped over because I was going to have her hold the horse or get me a rope. And when I picked up that stick, well, it was a one by, well, I guess it'd be like a 1 by 3 or whatever, but it was a piece of pallet wood. And
Mhm.
the reason I picked it up because it had a nail in it. And I've always been wanting to pick that up. And I think, I don't know how many probably tires I had flattened because of that, piece of wood. And when I saw that nail in there, but the nail fell out when I picked the wood up, and that wood had been laying there for years. It was dry rotted, and there was only a sliver holding it together. I had to turn it real gently to get it to stay together because there was only just a small sliver, so that I had
Right.
to have it turned just so perfect to even get it to move to get it up.
So
But
you asked your daughter to help you, one of your kids to help you? Is that what happened?
yeah, I wanted the oldest of them. I think she would have been around 14, I
Mhm.
suppose.
And then they called the police. Why?
Well, because she ended up tripping over that concrete block that she was up by. When she backed up, she tripped over that and went in the house, and she was just upset. And she actually thought I hit her with it, but I didn't even hit her with it. But I suppose when she fell down and all that excitement, she just assumed that I hit her. So when she was asked how many times, she didn't know. It was like, and when you said you don't know, it was almost sounds like, how many times did you hit her? Like 100 times, or but there was no marks. Only that little scuff from where her leg scratched against the concrete block,
But
I guess. But
she said she was 14 years old, so basically she kind of retaliated against you because she didn't want to help you to begin with. Was she objecting to helping you? Because I know a lot of teenagers sometimes don't want to.
yeah, she
They don't
rejected
want
to
to help.
help me. Yeah.
Gotcha. And what about the other girls? How old were they at the time?
Um, would have been 2 and 3 years younger
Oh,
than her, so um, 12 and 11ish, I guess. But they were
and they
both in the house.
were they all removed from you, Ellen?
But what was that?
Were the all the
Actually, yeah. Eventually, they were all removed. At first, it was they removed the two oldest
Mhm.
and left the youngest one with us,
Right.
and then later when they had the two older ones separated,
Mhm.
and my son was staying here in this house with my mom.
Right.
Well, this was going on, or after that had happened, and that was going on.
Mhm.
Um, and then, anyways, we were going through the court system, and then how did that go? Um, but anyways, my youngest daughter ended up calling her sister, one of the, you know, one of them that were in like a temporary placement or something with
Mhm.
some adoptive type people or whatever it was.
Yes, yes.
And anyways, she called her crying because, well, she was 11, and anyways, she wanted to go to her friend's house on the weekend. And I told her that she needed to have her room cleaned before she goes. Then, and she never got it cleaned. So I said, until that room is clean, you're not going. Well, then she snuck off, and I noticed that she was gone. So I called her friend's house, and then he said, "Yeah, yeah, or no, actually, he might have called. Megan's here,
How long ago
or
was
do
this,
any
Ellen? How long ago was this? How long?
this was quite some time already. No, it was I think like around 2008 probably.
Oh my God, that's a long time ago. Where are the
Yeah.
kids right now? I mean, what is your
Well,
story here, really? I know
what
the
was
story.
that?
What is the story now? What is going on now?
Well, right now I'm just fighting to bring awareness that it doesn't keep happening, but I see it does. But they forced us apart. They said that they told my well, now ex-wife, um
Mhm.
that if we wouldn't separate, that they were going to take all the kids from us. So that's why I ended up coming here and left them at the farm for time, because they made it sound like, once we get through some of this stuff, these hoops and whatnot. Well, it happened like it was like probably 7 months later.
Mhm.
Then then they were going to give me a time to actually go to one of the kids' dance recitals, and so I was looking forward. But then my ex-wife, or now ex-wife, um, she ended up in the hospital with diverticulitis that night before it. So she calls me and says that our oldest son will make sure that they get there and stuff. That he was only supposed to be able to use this car only to make them so that they could get to their recital. Well, being I had been out of the house for such a long time, and he's 17, he felt like he didn't have anybody to answer to anymore. So that night that she went into the hospital, he made arrangements and he went down to Hutchinson, Minnesota to do whatever he was doing. Well, then just before, then my two daughters called me and asked how I was, how they were going to get to this recital. Charles wasn't there to take them. And mom said that he was supposed to take us and they didn't know how they were going to get there. And I thought, I'm not a threat to my children. So I thought I'm going to do the fatherly thing and take them to this recital, regardless of their stupid
But
CPS
they were
ruling.
not in your custody, right? They were not in your custody. They were in CPS custody when this happened?
Yeah, yeah.
And that was, was it still 2008 or was it 2009, 2000,
2008,
still
I'm
2008?
guessing.
So what
Yeah.
is your, I mean, do you have any legal questions you want Davis to answer, or you just wanted to bring awareness today?
I'm I'm awareness, because there's nothing really that I can do. My children are all adults. It's just that I want I want people to know how unjust, the
Mm-hmm.
injustice of it, how it really should just be, and that's why what brought up about police too, because they're actually the ones that allow it. They
Mm-hmm.
show up with
Absolutely.
their
Yeah.
guns, and
Yeah.
um, you're forced into submission, based on a gun pointed at your head, or this or that. It's threat of violence, of injury. It's not good. And
Alan, let me ask you something. What's your relationship like right now with the children?
well, I just helped my daughter this last weekend move her stuff from storage that she's had in storage for like 3 years. I've bailed her out a couple times with it. She would get 300 or so dollars behind on it, then I would bail her out on it. And so now I told her this time, you're getting rid of it. She was kind of more concerned about documents and this and that, but I think most of that stuff that was document stuff, she didn't really know what it was. She had a fallout with her last child's um, dad,
Hold on,
and that.
Alan, hold on. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, what is your relationship like with your children today?
Um, yeah, that's like a one or a two. Yeah, it's not very good, and for
Do
some
you
of
think
them,
it
it's
do you think it's a result of the CPS case?
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Do you think any of your children would be willing to come on the show and talk to me about their experience with CPS and how it affected
Well,
their
I know
lives?
my youngest one. She tried to talk in court, but the judge told her if she kept trying to talk, he was going to have her removed.
Oh,
Hey, Alan, but listen to my question. Do you think any of your children, or all, would come on the show so that I could talk to them about their experience with CPS? That would be yes or no.
Well, like I said, I would say yes. I think my youngest daughter would. She's
Okay.
always. I mean, she was locked in the back seat of a car that last time, when she came into town, and when I wanted her to clean, and she called um, the the lady's house or whatever was watching my other daughters. Um, they locked her in the back seat of his squad car with a dog growling in her face while she's trying to get out, and while he's in there assaulting me.
Okay. Right.
So I
Well,
mean, she's definitely got some grievances with them for sure.
right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Grace give you a call, and maybe you can set that up for us,
yeah.
maybe next week or next weekend, and
Mhm.
she could come on. One of the things I like to do, because I think it's very informative, is talk to children who are now adults who used to be part of the foster care system, because I think that the system places children, takes them out of the parent's home because they're a risk, but the system doesn't realize where they're putting the children. Some In a lot of cases, it's in a worse situation, right?
Yeah,
There
I
are
was
so
just
many
watching another one today where
there are
one was
so many
taken from their parents, and go ahead.
there are so many cases around the country, just here in Los Angeles County, where kids are killed in foster care, where they're
Yeah.
abused in foster care physically, sexually, emotionally. Foster care is not what we think. To be honest with you,
No, I
foster
mean, look
care.
what happens in schools. Look what happens with police. Look what happens at camps. Look at what the scouts and different things like that.
Right.
You know,
Foster
who's better
you
to
know,
take care of their children than their parents?
right. We came up with the foster care system as a answer to the orphanage system,
Mhm.
but it's not perfect, and it's far from perfect.
I
You
wouldn't.
know, and,
I would say that it needs to be abolished.
yeah,
If there's
and,
things going on, there's no reason
no,
why a person from a community can't go to that person's house and communicate.
here's the typical thing that I come across. Father and mother had a domestic violence incident. Okay, there was a domestic violence incident. Um, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's a bad thing. But because of that incident, even if the children weren't there or weren't in the room, we take them out of the parents' home and we place them in foster care. Now, think about this for a moment. You're
Well, I have.
a young kid, and you've never lived anywhere separate and apart from your mother or your parents. And here you are in some stranger's home. How long do you think that's going to affect that children? And the answer
For their
is
lifetime.
for their lifetime. How much of an effect, negative effect, is that going to have on the child for the rest of their life? Is it going to be a 10, the worst thing ever? Is it going to be a 1? It's going to be a
Oh, it's
5?
gonna be up there. It's gonna be up there around the 10.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And and now, heaven forbid that something happened to this kid in foster care, which happens a lot. I tell a story of a case that I did. This was years ago, but it was in Los Angeles County. And my client had one of her kids and was trying to get the other child in her care. And the other child was like maybe an 11 or 12-year-old female. And the social workers were fighting us tooth and nail. And it was odd because they recommended that she take care of the boy, but not the girl. And the family was Caucasian. The girl was Caucasian. She was placed in a home in, a questionable, what some people would call a questionable area of Los Angeles County, in a group home with other girls her age who were African American and Latino. Right? Different cultural mix, right? Well, this girl reported that she had all of her personal items stolen, that she was being physically beat up and bullied. And I remember we went in the back in the judge's chambers, and the judge said, you know, maybe I should be investigating places where we send these children. And I thought she, at the time, I think she was kind of a new judge to dependency at least. And I thought, oh my God, the light has gone on. She realizes that when we take these kids from parents, sometimes we're putting them in a worse situation.
Sometimes? You mean all the time?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it is all the
I
time.
stand corrected.
Absolutely. All the time.
And we subject them to the unknown. They're subjected to the unknown. Imagine you're a 6-year-old, you've lived with your parents your entire life, and maybe things haven't been perfect. But then you're put into a home where things are worse. And I've heard stories. I can't prove this, but I'm thinking of one case in particular where it has been alleged that the child is taken away, and because the social worker doesn't like the parent, that the child is purposely purposely put into a foster home that is questionable,
Yep.
where there have been prior allegations of physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been told by some parents that it's being done because the social worker hates them so much.
Yep. And they know. They know about the sexual abuse in that
Yeah.
home. Yep.
Nothing that's ever been proven. But
But sure.
this is what people are telling me, Alan.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the interesting thing. People are
And a
telling
lot
me
of them
this,
won't come forward because of the shame or because
right,
they feel that they would never be believed.
right.
Yeah.
People are telling me this that aren't related to each other, don't know each other, and are in different counties.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you start to scratch your head sometimes like, I wonder what. I'm doing a case right now, a civil case. I have a client, we haven't filed the lawsuit, but she recently told me something new about the case. She got her kids back. And she recently told me She said, "Hey, Vince, did you know that my kids were being abused in foster care?" Like, what? We thought, all the reports describe the foster parents as, great,
Wonderful.
great, great foster parents doing a
Mhm,
great job for the kids,
mhm,
blah, blah, blah.
mhm,
I thought they were just a normal, couple, good couple helping kids. That's what I thought. And then she told me this, and I kind of like, well, what did they do to the kids? And then she told me. Needless to say, I was shocked, right? Now there's a possibility kids aren't telling the truth. There's a possibility they are telling the truth, right? And sometimes abuse of a child is something very subtle, right? And it's not a big deal. I mean, it doesn't seem like kids slapped on the head for not following instructions. Kids called names for doing something that's not the foster parent didn't want to do it. Let's face it, foster parents
mhm,
are people, okay? And we're all people, and we all have a feeling about what people do to people.
mhm.
And if you don't have an emotional connection or bond with that child, just imagine what could happen. I tell this story a lot. Many years ago, a couple decades ago, I represented a foster parent who was accused of causing the death of a foster child. Causing the death of a foster child.
That's why wasn't CPS charged with that? They were the ones that removed the child.
I don't know whether they were or not because I represented the foster parent. I couldn't turn around and sue my client. I couldn't do that, right? It's unethical. But the kid was removed from from their parent, from a single mother, because of alleged drug abuse.
Alleged.
So let's just
Alleged.
assume for a minute. Let's just
And
assume that.
even if, you know,
But let's
that's
just
still should,
assume she was a drug
where's the help
user.
with that?
Drug use is kind of relative. There's the recreational, and then there's falling out in the street, you know, abuse, and then there's everything in between. I don't know what this lady was guilty or not guilty of, but it couldn't have been something where
Yeah,
we
but
were
there you
going to the kid was going to lose his life. Couldn't have been.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, I was just gonna say we had an officer over here in New Ulm, 15-minute drive from me. Um, I just seen it a few days ago. For 2 times, he's been busted with having inappropriate relations with minors. He gets 15 months prison sentence. Well, he does what? He's gonna serve what, 8 months, and then he'll be back on the job again. He can go around sexually assaulting minors. This is only two that came forth. How many times has he gotten away with it that they didn't even speak up about it? And that's what
Right.
happens with police officers. When you got a police officer, you're like, he's done that to me. If I tell anybody, who's gonna believe me? And what
Right.
if he's even said that nobody's gonna believe you? And if you do, and if you keep making trouble, I'm gonna arrest you. Or who knows what,
Right.
they've got, and when I've all my incidences with the police has been that way. I was like 17. We break up.
No, you kind of went sideways there for a second,
Oh, oops.
but you're good now. You're good now.
No, no.
But if I mean, if he wants to, I don't know. If your daughter, your youngest daughter, do you want her to? Can she be on the show with us or no?
She's an adult now, right? So you can ask her, and if she wants to be on, we'll contact you, or Grace will contact you, or you contact Grace. But Alan, you know what?
Just text her.
I'm gonna have to move on to our next guest. I want to thank you very much for being on this Saturday morning and sharing your experiences with CPS. Um, reinforcing what we already suspect and believe regarding CPS. Alan, I wish you luck there in Minnesota. I hope things turn out well. I hope you and your children somehow mend the relationship and, move forward as a family. Thank you again, Alan, for being on.
Bye bye, Alan.
Miss G, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you?
Good. We have Darren. Is it Guy?
Yes.
Is that how, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah.
It's not gay.
No, it's not. He's not gay. No.
Okay. No, I wasn't saying that he was gay. I thought that may be how you pronounce his last name, Guay.
No. It's
Guay.
why. Yeah.
I wonder if Darren Guay is around because I don't see his.
He's around. He just
Yeah.
turned off the camera.
There he
I
is.
am. Look at that. What? Check this out, Mr. Davis. Can you see this when I do this? Watch this.
Hi, handsome. See that? See what it says? Vincent Davis. See that?
Oh, nice.
And it has your number on there.
That's nice.
I
Got to
know.
make it a little bigger. A little bigger.
Well, we gotta get bigger TVs, I guess. Because mine is 60 inches. It's huge. You should see your name. It's like a placard in my room.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hi,
So-
Darren.
Hello, Miss G. How are you?
I'm good, baby. How are you?
I'm
Darren,
good.
I love your hat there. You got
Yes,
your got your V-neck
Yep.
T-shirt on, and
Yep. This is, I could be a man, or I could be, I could be what kind of man I want to be. I could take the suit off. You must wear a T-shirt like this when you go to court, don't you?
No.
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, you could do this. You put this inside. You don't look like a gangster, right? You go like this. You look like I just got off the golf course and I'm going to go, speak to the media. So take the hat. You do this. You can ruffle up your hair and you look good. And you're like, ladies and gentlemen, here I am. I'm sorry I'm late. I just got out of the locker room. That's it. In this case, it's, hey, I just woke up in Maine and it's cold as heck out. So I'm going to throw my suit coat on and my
He
hat.
doesn't know you as I know you, Darren. By the time the end of the show, you'll
Look
be
at this. Look at where's
sure.
my little let's see. Look at this. I even got one of these, Mr. Davis.
Hey, Darren, were you in the military?
No, sir, I was not. My family's all military. I
You
went
grew
for
up
a short stint, and then that was that. I was let to the wolves. So due to medical things, so my broken back didn't allow it to happen. So they canned me out. But that was a bad thing because that was what I had prepared my whole life for. I was in Civil Air Patrol. I got the Billy Mitchell Award. Like I had planned my whole life on going into the military, and yeah, because of my broken back, that stopped that career for me. So,
Hey, hold on a second. Someone is saying hi from YouTube. Carol Chartier.
hey,
Miss G-
Carol.
Miss G. Carol was going to be a host for us. What happened to that?
I really don't know.
Okay, Carol, I'm still rooting for you. Please give us a call or
Oh,
give
there's
me a
Jamie.
call. So Darren, for those people that don't know who you are and what you are, give us a 2 or 3 minute summary.
All right. So I am Darren Gway. I am a man. And going on with that, I had a run-in with the Child Protective Services a couple of years ago. I will say at that point in time, I was one of the people that if you mentioned your kids were involved in Child Protective Services, I would shut you down and think that you must be a horrible person and that you are worth zero because of the stigma that's put onto the Child Protective Services and their involvement with these families. Fastly, I found that to be a completely idiotic way of thinking of those people because I now have been put in the targets of the Child Protective Services, and I quickly learned how their lies, their deceit, the mismanagement of their actions towards you, what they do towards you, and all of these things will compound to termination of parental rights, which eventually happened to me. And now, I'm in the appeals process. And along that way, it's almost it's like an unfortunate fortunate that you start to, because of what happens to you with Child Protective Services. Number one, you definitely become isolated. You definitely lose a bunch of your friends, your family, because of the allegations. And my allegations had nothing to even do with my child. But just the allegations alone, the smear tactics, the smear campaign, what they do to your family is going to interviewing them, telling them lies, telling them this, telling them that, especially if you're in a kinship program, which is what happened to us. So this happens, and all of a sudden you become an isolated person, and everybody thinks you're the most horrible person on earth. So I started with you guys. I called you guys actually the day after, or 2 days after our incident, and I know Miss G since then. And I've spoken with you too, also a couple times, Mr. Davis. And you've guided me. I have your book. We have all the. I'm a Davis addict, and I'm okay with that. And That's not the name of the book, but I was stating that I am a Davis addict, and I'm okay with that. And I fight back with these people, and I've learned a lot. And it's very unfortunate what they do, and it's got to be even very difficult for you, like we spoke about on your show last night, that these people don't go, with law or truth, and as you as an attorney, you've got to figure out a way to manipulate the rules and the laws to work towards them. I mean, it's got to be a very, very tough place to be as an attorney, because everything that you're taught is false. Just like everything I was taught about child protective services up until the point that they interfered in my life, it was a lie. These people want, some will say it's for this, some will say, well, that, but in fact, we all know that it's about financial gains. It's an institution that's driving money into the economies of all the local areas. It's an institution that will stop at nothing to keep funding coming through, no matter what it costs. They have actually put such a badge of fear, if you will, on every level of government around our areas. Even I've talking to police about, I've spoken to police about this, and they will say, no, we won't even, nope, we're staying away from this because we don't want our kids taken. I mean, that's the implementation of fear that this group has been put on to everybody in this country. And it's pretty sick and disgusting, especially when the number one thing that we're supposed to be focusing on here is the child. Now, I heard you just talk to that gentleman, and what you were talking about is the studies show that their antics and how they deal with these situations don't work. They're not right, because the thing is, we never had studies that focused 20 years ahead of the time until now. And what we're seeing is these kids that were in foster homes and all of these groups, and we're seeing that it was absolutely horrid for these children. These children are turning into, which are adults now, but they're alcoholics, they're drug addicts, they're prostitutes, they're murderers. Like, these kids have been turned into monsters.
There
So,
was a statistic out in California. I think it was just California that a huge percentage of kids that go into foster care later in life as adults have police contact. In other words, have been arrested, have been convicted of some type of crime, and it was so skewed that you have to conclude that this is a result of our foster care system. This is the result of placing children with people that have no connection with the child. Now, does it always happen? No. But the percentages are so big that
right.
we have to address something. We have to do something. Darren, you're in the middle of your appeal?
Well, yeah, we are.
God,
Yeah,
shut up.
that's where we're at. We're at we've the first appeal, they completely just threw it back in our face, and now I'm working as a rogue man because our attorney is no longer he will no longer represent me. So he said, hey, if you want to take this further, then you're on your own. So now that's where I'm at. So I am me, Mr. Darren, and the man in flesh, going to go ahead and try to take these guys on with hopefully a little bit of you on the side of me. But that's where we're at, and that's what you find with these attorneys. Those attorneys that we got, the paid for attorneys by the state, which aren't free, number one, and number two, they have no interest in keeping us with our children. Those people just give you, what they do? They legally make sure that you cannot appeal these TPRs. Now, that's not, again, not saying that every one of them are that way, but I have 2 attorneys, 3, 4 attorneys now that are involved in my family that I can absolutely tell you that there's 100% guarantee that they care not about your child, but getting your child in the DHS system to remove your child and keep them permanently.
Darren,
Um,
I want to add something real quick. There was a point when you and I spoke about this, when they saw your private show and they demanded that you bring it down, um, when you were speaking the truth about CPS and their corruption, and you have a tendency to move a lot, and they
mhm,
said that you're on drugs because you keep moving a lot. But I know you and Mary, your wife, for years, like even before Nina was removed. Okay.
right.
And um and they said you're on drugs, but what people don't know, and I'm going to get back to your comment in shortly after Darren speaks. What people don't understand is that they will make up in whatever they want to say about you in their heads, and the courts will believe it. You know,
Correct.
the judges will believe it. But I know you, but they don't understand that you had spinal injury, you fractured your spine, and you're like literally when you sit down or when you stand still, it stiffens up. So
Hmm.
that was a huge accident that people don't know about. And right away, people judge you because you're
Yeah.
moving back and forth. And I get it. I
Hmm.
understand why you're doing it. But I told everyone what that told me to remove you from my show because you're doing drugs. That's
Hmm.
wrong. That
Hmm.
is so
Well, if
wrong.
you notice right now, you see
According
me
to
like I'm
them,
leaned
you're
forward.
not. Yeah,
If you look in this, I'm leaning forward right now. And what I'm gonna have to do in a
yeah,
minute, and you see it on your shows, I'll have to lean backwards. And then when I lean backwards is when I have to start do this because it just gets tight, it gets tense, it starts doing with the
yeah. Poor baby. I know him
like
for
so it's almost it keeps it
5 years.
loose, so I'll be bouncing around back and forth like this. It's almost like I'm
Yeah,
swinging my hips. I'm doing Elvis, trying to keep the lower back loosened up. Because if I stand there like this, I come back, I'm like an old man,
yeah.
it's
He
awful. It
gets
sucks.
exactly. So I defend him because like I said, I've known them way before anything happened. So these people are legit people. They're good people. Shame on you, CPS. Honestly, this man has not done anything to his daughter. Nina was amazing. She loved her father. She was very attached to her dad.
How old is Nina?
Daddy's little girl. She was
She
5 years
will be
old, for God's
Well, she
sakes.
was 3 when they took her, and she'll
I
be
mean,
6
now
this year. Yeah,
she's 6.
she's
Yeah,
5 now, but she'll be 6 in May. Yep.
cute little thing.
When's the
Trust
last time you had a visit with her?
So I was not. Once I did my podcast, they immediately stripped me away from my visits with her and any communication with her. So that was January 16th of the year before. So I have not spoken to her in well over a year.
Okay, well,
Um,
hold on a second because I'm not aware of this, and I know people that are
I don't
watching
remember it.
or people that um, will watch this in the future. What's the name of your podcast?
that's our daughter.
That's Our Daughter.
Yeah. Any like that's our daughter. That's why I came up with that. Like that's not the states. That's not anybody. That's our daughter.
Where could I see?
It's on Spotify. It's on Google, the Google podcast place. And you can pretty much you go to Google and you just type in "That's Our Daughter" and I'll pop right up.
On
Is it
Spotify is where I watch it.
is it video or is it just audio?
No, it's just audio, and it's just me telling the story of what's happened, and then I mix into it like sometime current events or what's going on, and how I perceive the law and how I perceive um, everything that's going on. And then what's going to come up there too, I might as well just spill the beans. The things that show up there, the things that I was implicated in. You'll see the first things if you run my name on Google, it's going to come up as I'm the biggest bastard on this earth. All those charges were dismissed by the state. That entire case was what led to CPS coming to us and has
Mhm.
been since dismissed 100%. Of course, they didn't do any of that until after they had terminated our parental rights.
Mhm.
Uh, and to be quite frank, that whole incident was about a debt that was owed by a lady that we ran into her in a hotel room.
Mhm.
And that was pretty much it. And it ended up, she started screaming and yelling, causing 911 to come, and we left. And then that ended up being an armed robbery, which obviously it was not. But they charged us for that. They insinuated that they found drugs in the car, which imagine this: there was never any drugs found in the car, and
Never,
we never got charged for drugs in the car. The only
never.
charges that they remained on us were the 2 Class A felony armed robberies and threat.
Mhm.
Um, threatening with a deadly weapon. And then to the end, I stayed and I said, no, 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 nope, this is not the way it happened. This is not what happened. And I stayed. I fought it right out to the end. And the day that we were supposed to be starting our trial, they said, Mr. Guay, thank you very much, but we'll dismiss this case. And that was it. They just wanted to get something out of nothing. And, they even tried to get me in the court. Well, the thing is these are very serious charges that you've been implicated on. So we can't just let you walk away with nothing. Like that was their mindset. Like, what do you mean? Because you guys mischarged me with stuff, you can't let me walk away. So, and you probably see that as attorneys all the time. They use a bargaining chip. They don't want to be looked to fools. They made me out on every news station that there possibly was that, look at this armed robbery, hotel room, sticking people up. And that wasn't the
No,
case
wait,
at all.
Darren,
Hold on, hold on a second.
had
Hold
proof that he lent that lady money, and he was just trying to get the money back, and he was just confronting her. That's it. But they made up a whole new story
Yeah, it was
of who
crazy.
Darren is and his wife is. I'm
Hey,
Yeah.
Dar-
pissed,
hey,
Vincent. I
Darren.
know these people.
Yes, sir.
Darren, there's a question from R watching on YouTube.
Question.
Okay.
Do you see it on the screen?
Yeah.
Read that.
Says, I understand that there are some parents who have been wronged by CPS, but can we admit that there are indeed circumstances in which CPS was correct in removing a child? And
No,
absolutely.
there
So,
are. They don't remove them.
Hold on.
They don't remove them.
Hold
No,
on. Hold on. Hold on.
I
Darren,
agree. I
I'm
agree.
asking you. I'm asking you, Darren, to answer that question
I would
without
say
being,
absolutely not.
without being interrupted by Miss
Right.
G.
I believe, listen, if the child has been harmed in such a degree that they've been impaled, or if they've been, um, something forcefully, like broken neck, been stabbed and wounded to try to be in a mortal place, yes, you need to get that child away from there, and only on a
they
temporary
don't,
basis.
Darren.
Other than that, that's it. No, not because of arguments, not because of fighting, not because of spanking. Like, this has got to be like that child was pretty much mangled up and left for dead, because you can't give something back to something that's just mangled this thing up.
Right.
And they don't do that anyway. They don't remove the children that are mangled up and hurt. They don't ever do that. They don't, because no one wants those children. They
Okay.
can't adopt out a children that's hurt like that.
Okay. So let me ask Miss G. Miss G, who's going to law school to be a lawyer very soon. Miss G, could you answer that question?
Children who are being abused are not touched. And that's why they die in the hand of the abuser, whether the children are with the mother or the boyfriend or both parents. Children who are, the neighborhood calls CPS to remove the children from these abusive parents. They don't acknowledge these abuse, and they always say it's unfounded. So many social workers now that are involved are in jail, as a matter of fact. New cases are coming up. Kids die. CPS has been called for 2 years. Kids die. Two, three, four kids by the boyfriend, by the mom, or both. And those are the kids that they need to focus on, but they don't want to remove these kids because they're so damaged. Nobody wants to care for them. Meaning the foster homes that they send children to, they don't want to care for children who are damaged. They send them children who are not damaged so they can have guardianship. The foster home can take guardianship of the kids or adopt the children. And nobody's going to adopt a damaged child.
Nope.
So basically, this is what's happening. So they don't pay attention to them, but they do pay attention to the parents who did nothing, and it's just false allegations, or they conclude their own conclusion in their little bird brain that they have, and that's how the system works. So when you say some parents who have been wronged is incorrect. All parents have been wronged. Okay? Some
Okay. Thank
cases
you.
should
Thank
be
you.
removed from the parents, and they're not. There you go.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So,
I we're going past the time limit on the show, and I know it's Saturday morning. I have an appointment that I have to get to that Miss G set up for me today.
nice work,
Um,
Miss G.
and Miss G,
It's like
I'm
never
meeting,
rest, for gosh sakes.
I'm meeting this person at the office. I'm about to shower
Lord.
and change and everything.
Oh, you
But
gonna wear a V-neck with your suit?
no,
This is the look when you come out of the locker room.
Miss G,
Try it.
I did send you a text that I would appreciate if you can answer.
Yeah. Hey, R, honey, I respect your opinion, but yeah, you're wrong.
Okay, thank you, Miss G, for your opinion. Now, I do want to continue this conversation, and I'm going to be on the air tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Miss
Mhm.
G, I know you might not be able to join us. Are you able to join tomorrow at 9:30?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. And Darren, I want to
Yes, sir.
invite you to come back on at 9:30
I don't know.
tomorrow.
Is R a social
I'll
worker?
be
I'm
here.
not
I'll
sure.
be here, Mr. Davis.
Funny.
Okay. Grace, I hope you heard that. Grace, our producer, make sure you send invites to Darren and to Miss G for tomorrow morning at 9:30. I know you're off tomorrow, Grace, and enjoy your Sunday being off. but set that up for us before you go. Hey, everyone, I want you to enjoy the rest of this. I want you.
Sorry, I
Pardon,
know, but
pardon me, Miss G.
R is funny. Who could that be?
Um, it's probably a social worker, but
Who knows? Might be somebody hating me or something, or a social worker.
Hey,
Who
we
knows?
already know I have a hate club,
I
so we learned that yesterday's
know.
show.
Hate club.
no,
Yep.
Miss G have a hate club. How could that be? How could
And
that be?
Darren has
No,
a
I
hate
do. We
club.
learned that on the show yesterday.
All right, so you guys, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Have a great
Yes,
rest of
sir.
the day today, and we'll see everyone tomorrow at
Don't
9:30.
don't forget, try it out, Mr. D. Try it
Okay.
out. V-neck and suit, you'll like it.
Bye, Darren.